Hello, my name is Chiha, and this is a long video for the final project for E59 course. The purpose of this project is to create a structural and efficient relational database system for storing and querying American casualties numbers during the Vietnam War. And the source data for this project is available through the U.S. National Archive catalogs, specifically the records of Office of Secretary of Defense. And this is the link to download the raw file. It consists of more than 58,000 records of service member, and the data is stored in pipe delimited text format. Luckily, the National Archive keeps a very detailed descriptions for the dataset. I think there are 55 fields in total, but rather than importing all data into a single table, I wanted to design a schema for a relational database that allows efficient queries of complex demographic questions, or I'd be able to scale um, this database in the future to include other armies or other conflicts, for example. So to prepare the data for MySQL, I identified any fields that contain highly repetitive data such as member rank, member branches of service, gender, home location, religion, or race.
So based on that, I use an R script to identify all the distinct values in fields that have a lot of repetitive data, like I said, rank, service, occupation, religions, and then generate lookup tables for these fields. Also, auto generate IDs for the distinct values. I then split the dataset into multiple main tables like home locations, casualty locations, service members, and apply the lookup tables to the main table, populating all the repetitive data with the corresponding generated IDs for those. I think the data preparation took the a large portion of my time for this project because I would rather having a clean data set and ready to be uploaded into MySQL rather than having to manipulate the data in the EC2 Instant Console. So as a result, you can see through the entity relationship diagram here, I actually use MySQL Workbench reverse engineering function to create these. There are 15 tables in total, including 9 lookup table. They are smaller in size, and 6 main tables. I would say that the service members and the casualties tables are the core table of this database. They have the most number of foreign keys connecting to all these lookup tables. So when creating these tables in MySQL, I needed to make sure that each field has the right data type, like some of them are integer, date, or year. And then I needed to make sure that each field has enough characters to store all the information. So now we have we have all the clean CSV data that are ready to be uploaded, and then I have a database with all the tables created in MySQL. So the next step is to load all the CSV into MySQL. What I needed to do was create a Amazon S3 bucket to upload all the files into it. And then I use the EC2 Instant Console to copy all of these five from S3 into EC2 Instant and use another command line to move them to MySQL folders. So of course you can do all kinds of queries into this database, and I'm going to demo some queries for these videos. Let's focus on the age, the casualty by age, for example. I'm going to run a statement to find casualty by all ages, and you can see here that the youngest service member that died in Vietnam was 16 years old, but the majorities are in between, I'd say, 19 to 22 years old. But if this is kind of long to analyze and look at, we can always write a report for age group instead of all the age range. So here we have, we can see a little bit better for, it shows this table show casualties for different age groups. And again, the majority of casualties happens between 16, 17 to 25 years old. They were very young. The enlisted men during the Vietnam War were very young. And if I want to know the average age of casualties, for example, I can run another statement and it returns the average age of all casualties from the Vietnam War is 23.1 years old. I think, if I remember right, the average age of enlisted service member in Vietnam is 22, and compared to all enlisted service member in World War II was 26. So the Vietnam War cohort is a lot younger, and I think during the Vietnam War, the military drafted younger men starting at 19 years old, whereas in World War II, the military drafted mostly from 21 to 35 years old. And before that, I think there were also more deferment added to the Vietnam War. Older and educated men could get deferments, whereas a young high school graduate was less likely to get deferment. So this could explain the younger average age for enlisted men during the Vietnam War. So creating a database like this could help historians, educators, and students to better understand the human cost of war and help policymakers making more informed decisions based on analysis of the demographics of war casualties, studying how conflict could affect to different extents certain groups of populations, and from that results, policymakers can initiate, for example, improvements to the recruitment process or improvement to how the military carried out its deferment system. So that's my demo for the Vietnam War casualties database. Thank you very much.
So